Hello, welcome to AnjuliTV. I'm Anjuli Velazquez. This is a special edition of AnjuliTV where I'll be continuing my Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel reviews. Now, it's been a while since I did my last review for Season 4 and Season 1, but that's because the fall season show started, so I haven't been able to watch it as quickly as I did the other ones. So we have the season premiere with Buffy vs. Dracula, and finally, in my opinion, a season premiere of Buffy that is actually a good one, and it doesn't take this season like a few episodes to get into it before it's like back to being Buffy. Giles is planning on moving back to England, and Dracula shows up, obviously. I kind of wish he was more scary and sexy, kind of, because like Dracula is like a big deal for vampires. Kind of seemed like he should have been more of a big deal or lasted longer, I guess. I know like he comes back in the comics, but I don't know, kind of seems like it should have lasted at least a few episodes. And I hate Dawn's arrival at the end of this episode because, I'm sorry, Dawn is my least favorite character in the Buffyverse, and she's just the most annoying one, in my opinion. Then we have Real Me, and Dawn is so annoying, of course. Harmony is back, and she's quite funny. I love Harmony. Dawn, such an idiot for inviting Harmony in. She knows that she's a vampire. She knows not to invite her in, but she does it anyway. This is why I don't like Dawn's character. She's just, I know she's like a teenager and she's not supposed to, I don't know what she's doing, I guess, whatever. But Buffy always has to save her. It's annoying because the first 4 seasons we don't have the sister and it's better that way, in my opinion. But anyway. I do have to say that I like the Harry Potter Hogwarts reference from Dawn, though. It's funny that Tom Lenk is one of Harmony's minions in vamp makeup because, you know, he comes back later in season 6. And then by the end of this episode, Giles buys a magic shop, which is nice. And then in Out of My Mind, Spike is watching Dawson's Creek, which is kind of awesome, in his crypt. This is when Joyce first starts to have her headaches, and the first time she goes to the hospital. It's also the first time that we see Ben / Glory, our big bad of the season. And then this is the episode that Spike has a dream about Buffy at the end, him and her making out, which is just gross. Funny, but gross. I'm sorry. Buffy and Spike? No, I don't like it. Finally, in No Place Like Home is when Buffy realizes that Dawn isn't actually her sister, which I gotta say it was really annoying the first time I watched this season because everybody like acknowledges that this is Buffy's sister and you're like, who the hell are you? Where did you come from? Which I know is the whole point, but you know. And then in Fool for Love, even James Marsters said it was weird when he found out about Spike having feelings for Buffy. Buffy gets injured by a vamp pretty badly, and she goes to Spike for advice on how Slayers have died, since he's killed 2 of them. This is the first time we see Spike before he was turned into a vampire, which was kind of the dork back then, or maybe just, you know, romantic kind of Fool for Love. But anyway, this is also the first time that Drusilla meets William. It's funny how when Spike is telling the story of how he killed the Slayers, he totally looks like Billy Idol, because he would look like Billy Idol. In Shadow is where Joyce gets a CAT scan and sees that there ends up being a shadow, you know, in her brain, so the doctors perform surgery. So far in the season, Riley has been feeling left out because Buffy doesn't tell him about anything. Spike is actually one who tells him about Buffy's mom being in the hospital. And then Riley catches Spike sniffing Buffy's sweater, which is funny. And it's funny how Glory just walks into the magic shop and buys her stuff without anybody knowing that, you know, she's the big bad. And this is the first time that we see Riley let a vampire feed off of him, which is really weird. In Into the Woods, okay, I know that Spike is like obsessed with Buffy at this point, but it's really creepy how he's just chilling outside of her house when her and Riley are doing it in her bedroom. I mean, come on. Spike tells Buffy about Riley's outings with the vampires, and Buffy and Riley end up breaking up at the end of this episode because he's been lying and has been offered a job with the army hunting demons. And in Triangle, Willow and Anya are fighting a lot, putting Xander in the middle. Willow's trying to do a spell in the magic shop, and Anya keeps interrupting her and messing it up, so they release this troll from Anya's past. And then also the Willow quote, "Hello, gay now," is in this episode, which is good stuff. In Checkpoint, the Watchers Council comes to Sunnydale with some information on Glory, and they put Buffy through a series of tests, but so that by the end of this episode, Buffy and co. find out that Glory's actually a god. In Blood Ties, Buffy and Giles tell the rest of the gang that Dawn is the key. Spike and Dawn break into the magic shop because Dawn's, annoying and obnoxious and she has to do something like this. So then she finds out that she's the key. Buffy never has a good birthday. And it's in this episode that we find out that Ben and Glory are the same person. Or, God/person. Or whatever. And I Was Made to Love You is where we meet Warren, who comes back, in season 6, and his creepy robot girlfriend thing. And then at the end of this episode, Spike gets the brilliant idea to make his own Buffy bot. And then in the body, it is a really good episode. It's not one of my favorites because it's kind of hard to watch. It's really sad, and the no music at any point of this episode makes it more kind of creepy and still, and it's just kind of hard to watch. I do love the band Candy reference, though, because that's one of my favorite episodes of Buffy ever. And then in Spiral, Buffy and gang leave Sunnydale, but don't get too far because of those Crusade guys, and Glory takes Dawn. Now, for my favorite episodes of Buffy Season 5, the first one is The Replacement. This demon comes to try and split Buffy in two, and instead hits Xander, and he's split in two, which is funny, and his brother comes to play the other Xander. And like I've said before, I just really like the Xander-based episodes. I think they're quite funny. And that part where it's actually in the opening credits where they are laughing and they look at each other, I laugh every time I see that scene. My next favorite is Family. Buffy tells Giles that Dawn isn't really her sister. Tara's family comes to get her because it's her birthday, and she supposedly turns into a demon on her 20th birthday. I just like this episode because they all stand up for Tara, and she kind of finally feels like she's part of the family. And the Willow and Tara scenes are really sweet and kind of make me tear up. My next favorite is Forever. Dawn is quite the little psycho in this episode. I know that she's obviously sad about her mother, but I just don't understand the things that she does. I like this episode primarily because Angel comes to see Buffy, but it also has Joel Grey guest stars as some expert resurrecting demon who is more of a bad guy than we realize, which obviously we'll see later. And I think this is the one that we start to see Dawn stealing things. Next favorite is Weight of the World. Buffy goes into this catatonic state, and Willow uses psychic awesomeness to reach her. And my final favorite is The Gift. It's the season finale, and I've read that Joss said he kind of made it as it could be a series finale. I love the opening sequence of, the previous, Buffy the Vampire Slayer with clips from season 1. Obviously, it's quite sad that Buffy dies, but that was the only way that she could close the portal and, save the world. Again. Now, for Angel Season 2, our season premiere is Judgment. I love Lauren, and I like that Darla is back now. I know that they're trying to make Cordelia funny, but she comes across as annoying to me. This is the first time that we see Angel sing for Lauren, which is great. And he sings Mandy, too. First impressions, I love David's character. I wish he lasted longer or at least came back more periodically. In Untouched, I love how Angel just walks up on a crime scene and acts like a detective, and then, the other police officers believe him. The Shroud of Ramen, I actually like this episode a lot. It's fun to see Angel act all flashy and as that J. Dawn guy or whatever. But Kate is so annoying. I'm glad this is the last season that she's in. The Trial, this is the first time we hear of Holtz back in the 1700s France with Angelus and Darla. She decides to stop trying to become a vampire again and just accept her death. And then Lindsay and Wolfram and Hart come in with Drusilla and then turn Darla into a vampire. with Angel watching. Redefinition. Angel goes a little darker and sets Darla and Drew on fire, which is awesome. In the thin deadline, we have zombie cops, which is kind of awesome. And Cordelia is such a bitch. Granted, it's kind of justified here, but still, she's the worst. And I'm sorry, it's just so not believable that Angel would ever have feelings for her. I don't buy it. In Reprise, I love how Angel just shows up at Angel Investigations to take a book, and Cordelia tries to be all tough, and he says, I'm a vampire, look it up. And by the end of this episode, Angel has lost it, gone, like, just given up, and he sleeps with Darla. In Epiphany, I love how Darla just thinks that he'll lose his soul just because he had sex with her, but, you know, obviously it only happens when he has sex with Buffy because she's the only woman that he's ever been in love with. In Belonging is when we see Lauren's cousin goes through that portal, and then sending him home, Cordelia goes to Pylea. And in Over the Rainbow is where we learn of Pylea, Lauren's home hell dimension. And we learn that 5 years ago, when Fred is the one who opened the portal, and Lauren got sucked through at that time. We get to meet Fred in this episode, who I love. Cordy becomes a slave, and then she gets a vision and becomes the monarch of Pylea, and Angel, Wes, Gunn, and Lauren are now prisoners. My first favorite for Angel Season 2 is Dear Boy. We get to go back in the past to see when Darla pointed Drusilla out to Angel, starting, you know, that whole storyline. And I gotta say, I love when Angel sings karaoke. It's good stuff. Guys Will Be Guys is my next favorite. Angel is off to deal with issues with this Swami, and Wesley pretends to be Angel. And the music in this episode is like the Zeppo again, which is one of my favorite episodes of Buffy, so that's great. Oh, and I also love at the end, Angel's like, I'm not a eunuch. I'm not a eunuch. My next favorite is Darla. We go back to 1609, Darla's time, and we see when she was a human, and the Master is there. And it's pretty epic, if you think about it, that Darla was sired by the Master. And I love how Drusilla calls Darla grandmother. And I also love that we just saw one of these flashbacks in Buffy's Fool for Love. So that's why I like watching these shows together, because they kind of, you know, they tie in. My next favorite is Reunion. Drew and Wolfman Hart give a ceremony for Darla's rebirth, and Angel tries to stop, obviously, but it doesn't happen. Drew and Darla show up to Holland's wine tasty party for their massacre, which is kind of cool because they're all evil anyways. And when Angel shows up, instead of saving everyone, he locks them all in there, which is exactly what I think he should have done because they're evil lawyers for Wolfman Hart. He shouldn't have saved them just because he saves innocent people. He shouldn't have saved Wolfman Hart people. And I also like how he fires Wes, Gunn, and Cordelia at the end of this episode because they're not really helping him at this point, I think. My next favorite is Through the Looking Glass. We are still in Pylea, and Princess Cordelia has set Angel, Lauren, Wes, and Gunn free. Angel's freaking out because he can see his reflection and he can be out in the sunlight. And we get to meet Lauren's mother, who is quite mannish. And Cordelia meets the Gruselug here. By the end of this episode, we see that Lauren's head has been cut off, which is shocking, you know. But then we get to There's No Place Like Plurt's Glurb, where you see that he's actually can survive without his head on, and we just have to get his body back. And this was a good season finale, in my opinion, because I like Angel Season 2. The first 2 seasons and Season 5 are my favorites. But you're so happy for Angel and the rest of them to finally be home, but then you see that Willow is sitting there waiting for him, and then your heart kind of just breaks, shatters, and he says, it's Buffy. Oh. But like I said, I like Season 2 of Angel a lot. I don't like Kate. That's the only part, really, that I don't like about Season 2, but as a whole, I really like it. Well, that's it for this episode, this review of Buffy Season 5 and Angel Season 2. Hope you enjoyed. And I'm going to start watching Buffy Season 6 and Angel Season 3 now, so stay tuned for my next review.